Vitamin D, often called the sunshine vitamin, plays a crucial role in our health and well-being. Beyond its well-known importance for bone health, it contributes to several essential body functions, from calcium and phosphorus absorption to strengthening the immune system and maintaining muscle function. Recent studies have shown its influence in areas such as cardiovascular health, mental health, and even in preventing certain types of cancer. However, despite its significance, vitamin D deficiency is a global issue, affecting a large portion of the world's population. But how can you know if you're getting the ideal amount of vitamin D? With the growing popularity of online information, the internet has become a primary source of knowledge on health and wellness. However, alongside valuable insights, many myths and misconceptions about vitamin D are also circulating. Unfortunately, these inaccuracies can lead to improper practices, harming your health instead of improving it. From excessive sun exposure to indiscriminate supplementation, misinformation can be detrimental. That's why this video is so important. Our goal is to debunk the main myths surrounding vitamin D by providing clear, concise, and evidence-based information. Over the next few minutes, we'll demystify common beliefs, such as the idea that sun exposure alone is sufficient to meet our vitamin D needs, the universal necessity of supplementation, the sufficiency of diet, and the myth that excess vitamin D has no negative effects. We'll also address the mistaken notion that vitamin D is only important for bones. Let's start by unraveling the first myth, often repeated and widely believed: the idea that simply getting sunlight is enough to guarantee adequate vitamin D levels. Get ready to be surprised by the truth behind this claim. Many people believe that sun exposure is the only and sufficient way to get the vitamin D the body needs. After all, vitamin D is known as the sunshine vitamin, and our body naturally produces it when the skin is exposed to ultraviolet B UVB radiation from the sun. While this idea is partially true, it oversimplifies a complex process and can lead to misguided conclusions. The reality is that the amount of vitamin D produced through sun exposure depends on a variety of factors, making the statement, "I only need the sun," a dangerous generalization. One of the most important factors is geographic location. The intensity of UVB radiation varies depending on latitude and the time of year. In regions closer to the equator, UVB radiation is more intense throughout the year, making it easier to produce vitamin D.
Ever feel drained halfway through your workout? I used to struggle with energy and slow recovery. Then I found this fast-acting nitric oxide booster. It increases nitric oxide by 200% in just 20 minutes. Just mix, drink, and get moving, so simple. I noticed better circulation and more stamina almost instantly. If you want quicker results, this is a game changer. Try it now and feel the difference in your next session.
In higher latitudes, such as in the northern and southern regions of the planet, UVB radiation decreases significantly during the winter, making it harder to produce enough vitamin D from sun exposure alone. Imagine, for example, someone living in Canada compared to someone living in Brazil. The availability of sunlight, and consequently the production of vitamin D, will be drastically different. Graphs illustrating UVB radiation levels around the world clearly highlight this variation. In addition to geographic location and the season, other factors influence the skin's ability to synthesize vitamin D. The time of day is crucial. UVB radiation is most intense between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Air pollution can also block UVB rays, reducing vitamin D production. Individual characteristics, such as skin type, play a significant role as well. People with darker skin require longer sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D as those with lighter skin, due to the higher concentration of melanin, which acts as a natural sunscreen. And of course, the use of sunscreen, essential for protecting against the harmful effects of UV radiation, also reduces vitamin D production. Finally, as we age, the skin's ability to produce vitamin D diminishes. It is important to remember that while the sun is an important source of vitamin D, excessive sun exposure without proper protection poses serious health risks, such as sunburn, premature skin aging, and an increased risk of skin cancer. Therefore, seeking an intense tan to boost vitamin D levels is an extremely dangerous practice. Using sunscreen with adequate SPF is indispensable for protecting the skin from the harmful effects of UV radiation. In summary, the idea that sun exposure alone guarantees adequate vitamin D levels is a myth. Vitamin D production from sunlight is influenced by numerous factors, and excessive unprotected sun exposure presents significant health risks. While the sun is an important source, it is not, by itself, a guarantee of sufficient vitamin D levels, and other strategies may be necessary. Up next, we will debunk another common myth, the belief that vitamin D supplementation is always necessary. With the growing awareness of the importance of vitamin D for health, the idea has emerged that everyone needs to take vitamin D supplements. However, this belief is another myth that needs to be debunked. Vitamin D supplementation can be beneficial in certain situations, but it is not a universal recommendation. The need for supplementation must be evaluated on an individual basis, considering various factors. After all, every individual is unique, and their nutritional needs are as well. Individualization is key to determining the need for vitamin D supplementation. Factors such as current vitamin D levels in the body, diet, sun exposure, pre-existing medical conditions, and age must all be taken into account. The most accurate way to determine vitamin D levels is through a specific blood test. Only with these results can a healthcare professional assess the need for supplementation. For instance, someone who already has adequate vitamin D levels will not benefit from supplementation and may even face risks from excessive intake. Diet also plays an important role in obtaining vitamin D. Although few foods are naturally rich in this vitamin, some, such as fatty fish, salmon, tuna, sardines, cod liver oil, egg yolks, and certain types of mushrooms, contribute to daily intake. Additionally, there are vitamin D-fortified foods like milk, cereals, and yogurt. A diet rich in these foods can reduce the need for supplementation, but for most people, it is not enough to reach optimal levels, especially in cases of limited sun exposure. As we discussed earlier, sun exposure is an important source of vitamin D, but its effectiveness depends on various factors. It's crucial to highlight the risks of excessive vitamin D supplementation. Vitamin D is fat-soluble, meaning it is stored in the body and not easily excreted. Excessive vitamin D intake can lead to hypervitaminosis D, a condition that can cause various health problems, such as nausea, vomiting, constipation, muscle weakness, mental confusion, bone pain, kidney stones, and in severe cases, even heart problems. Therefore, indiscriminate supplementation without medical supervision can be harmful. Thus, vitamin D supplementation is not a one-size-fits-all solution. The decision to supplement should be based on an individualized evaluation, considering a person's vitamin D levels, diet, lifestyle, and health conditions. Self-medication should be avoided, and supplementation, when necessary, should be done under the guidance of a doctor or a nutritionist, who will determine the appropriate and safe dosage. Next, we will examine another common myth, the belief that foods rich in vitamin D are sufficient to meet all our needs. Healthy eating is essential for health and well-being, and many people believe that consuming foods rich in vitamin D is enough to meet the body's needs. While it is true that some foods contain vitamin D and contribute to daily intake, the belief that diet alone can fulfill all requirements is another myth that needs to be debunked. The amount of vitamin D found in most foods is relatively low, and reaching optimal levels through diet alone can be a challenge, especially for those with limited sun exposure. Let's explore the foods considered good sources of vitamin D. Fatty fish such as salmon, tuna, and sardines are excellent options. Cod liver oil, though not a common food for many, is another rich source of vitamin D. Egg yolks also contain vitamin D, though in smaller amounts. Certain types of mushrooms, such as shiitake and button mushrooms, offer notable quantities of vitamin D, particularly when exposed to ultraviolet light. Additionally, many countries fortify foods with vitamin D, such as milk, cereals, and yogurt, increasing the population's intake of this vitamin. To illustrate the difficulty of obtaining the recommended amount of vitamin D through diet alone, let's consider a practical example. A 100g serving of cooked salmon contains an average of 500 IU of vitamin D, considering the daily recommendation of 600 IU for adults. Consuming more than 100g of salmon daily would be necessary to meet this amount with just this food. For those who do not enjoy fish or have dietary restrictions, the task becomes even more complex. Imagine the number of egg yolks or mushrooms that would be required to achieve the same amount. The bioavailability of vitamin D in foods is another factor to consider. Bioavailability refers to the amount of vitamin D that is absorbed and utilized by the body. Not all the vitamin D in foods is absorbed with the same efficiency. The presence of other nutrients in the meal, the method of food preparation, and individual gut health can all influence the bioavailability of vitamin D. Therefore, while foods rich in vitamin D are an important part of a healthy diet and contribute to daily intake, it is difficult for most people to achieve optimal levels through diet alone. Other strategies, such as safe sun exposure, with adequate protection and supplementation, when necessary and guided by a healthcare professional, may be required to ensure adequate vitamin D levels. Next, we will uncover a myth that can have serious health consequences: the belief that excessive vitamin D intake does not cause problems. Returning to a crucial point we touched on earlier, there is a common misconception that, because it is a vitamin D can be consumed in large quantities without causing any harm. This is a dangerous myth, as excess vitamin D can indeed lead to health issues, some of them quite serious. Unlike water-soluble vitamins, which are excreted by the body when consumed in excess, vitamin D is fat-soluble. This means it is stored in adipose tissue and the liver. While this storage is essential for maintaining a steady supply of vitamin D, it also makes hypervitaminosis D possible, a condition characterized by excessive vitamin D in the body. To better understand this process, let's explain the difference between fat-soluble and water-soluble vitamins. Water-soluble vitamins, like vitamin C and the B-complex vitamins, dissolve in water and circulate freely in the body. When consumed in excess, they are easily excreted through urine, making toxicity less likely. Fat-soluble vitamins, such as vitamins D, A, E, and K, are absorbed along with dietary fats and stored in the body. This characteristic makes toxicity from fat-soluble vitamins a real possibility when consumed in excessive and prolonged amounts. Hypervitaminosis D can cause a range of unpleasant and harmful symptoms. Early symptoms may include nausea, vomiting, loss of appetite, constipation, muscle weakness, mental confusion, and disorientation. Over time, excessive vitamin D can lead to more severe problems, such as elevated calcium levels in the blood, hypercalcemia, which may result in heart arrhythmias, kidney damage, and kidney stone formation. In extreme cases, hypervitaminosis D can cause kidney failure and other severe complications. There are numerous case reports and studies that confirm the risks of hypervitaminosis D. A study published in the New England Journal of Medicine reported the case of a woman who developed hypercalcemia and kidney failure after consuming excessive doses of vitamin D over an extended period. Another study, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, showed a link between excessive vitamin D supplementation and an increased risk of falls in older adults. Thus, the myth that excessive vitamin D intake poses no harm is both dangerous and false. Vitamin D supplementation, when necessary, should always be done under strict medical supervision, adhering to recommended dosages and periodically monitoring blood levels of vitamin D. Self-medication and the use of high doses of vitamin D without medical oversight can have serious health consequences. Next, we will address the final myth, which limits the importance of vitamin D solely to bone health. Vitamin D is often associated with bone health, and for good reason. It plays a key role in the absorption of calcium and phosphorus, essential minerals for building and maintaining strong bones. However, this association has led to the mistaken belief that vitamin D is only important for bone health. This is yet another myth we need to debunk because vitamin D has far-reaching functions in the body, impacting many aspects of our health beyond the skeletal system. While its role in bone health is critical, particularly in preventing rickets in children and osteomalacia and osteoporosis in adults, vitamin D also performs vital extraskeletal functions. Scientific studies have shown its importance for the proper functioning of the immune system. Vitamin D helps modulate the immune response, strengthening the body's defenses against infections, and plays a significant role in the prevention and treatment of autoimmune diseases. Additionally, vitamin D contributes to cardiovascular health by regulating blood pressure and reducing the risk of heart disease. Vitamin D's influence also extends to muscle health. Studies have shown that adequate vitamin D levels are associated with improved muscle strength and physical function, especially in older adults, helping to prevent falls and fractures. Furthermore, research has explored the connection between vitamin D and mental health, suggesting that vitamin D deficiency may be linked to a higher risk of depression, anxiety, and other mental health disorders. In some cases, vitamin D supplementation has shown promising results in improving mood and reducing symptoms of these conditions. Vitamin D may also play a role in cancer prevention. Epidemiological studies have demonstrated an inverse relationship between vitamin D levels and the risk of developing cancers such as colon, breast, and prostate cancer, among others. While more research is needed to confirm this relationship and understand the mechanisms involved, the preliminary findings are promising. To illustrate the importance of vitamin D beyond bone health, we can reference a study published in The Lancet, which analyzed data from over 1 million people and concluded that vitamin D supplementation significantly reduced the risk of acute respiratory infections. Another study, published in the British Medical Journal, found an association between adequate vitamin D levels and a reduced risk of developing autoimmune diseases such as multiple sclerosis and type 1 diabetes. Therefore, limiting the importance of vitamin D solely to bone health is a simplistic and incomplete view. Vitamin D is essential for the proper functioning of the entire body, influencing the immune system, muscle health, cardiovascular health, and mental well-being. Maintaining adequate vitamin D levels is crucial for health and well-being at all stages of life. Next, we'll wrap up our video with a summary of the main points and some important recommendations. Throughout this video, we've debunked 5 common myths about vitamin D, separating facts from misconceptions. To recap, we've seen that while sun exposure is important, it's not always sufficient to ensure adequate vitamin D levels due to factors like geographic location, season, skin type, and sunscreen use. We dispelled the idea that supplementation is always necessary, emphasizing the importance of individual assessments and medical evaluations to determine actual needs and appropriate dosages, avoiding the risks of vitamin D toxicity. We also clarified that, although beneficial, foods rich in vitamin D alone are unlikely to meet the body's requirements. Additionally, we debunked the dangerous myth that excess vitamin D poses no health risks, outlining the potential harms of hypervitaminosis. Lastly, we uncovered the misconception that vitamin D is only important for bones, demonstrating its multiple functions in the body, including its impact on the immune system, muscle function, cardiovascular health, and mental well-being. Given all this information, and the ease of accessing content that's not always reliable, it's crucial to emphasize the importance of seeking professional guidance. Consulting a doctor or nutritionist is essential to evaluate your vitamin D levels through blood tests, identify your individual needs, and receive personalized recommendations on how to optimize your vitamin D levels, whether through safe sun exposure, diet, or supplementation when necessary. Remember, self-medication can harm your health, and vitamin D supplementation should always be done under medical supervision. We hope this video has clarified your doubts and debunked misconceptions about vitamin D. If you enjoyed the content, click like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss upcoming videos, and turn on notifications to stay updated whenever we have new content. Share this video with your friends and family so more people can access reliable information about vitamin D. Your health will thank you. Thank you for joining us and for your interest in this topic. Stay tuned for our next videos, where we'll cover other relevant topics for your health and well-being. See you next time.